Hey everybody, welcome back. We are coming at you from the race shop today, and we have a new video. We're doing I don't know what you want to call it, how to become a crew member, how to be a crew member on the road, Outlaws, All Stars, your local crew member. We get questions. People ask about, hey, how do I get involved in racing? What's it take, or just where do you start? So. We got a new video for you today, and we got Dalton here.
What's up?
Dalton's a friend from a long time ago, and Dalton's got a lot of experience with various forms of being a crew member. So, we're going to try and, we got some popular questions here. We got a list of questions we're going to go over, and we're just going to try and, put some, clarity maybe on some questions that people might have when it comes to, getting involved with racing. Sprint car racing, obviously. So, I guess we'll just start at the top. Hi, I'm Billy Dietrich, sprint car mechanic and driver. I've been around racing my whole life, and it's pretty much all I know. We created this channel to share the good, the bad, and everything in between. I'm also going to share some tutorials on basic 410 mechanics and parts, and whatever else I feel like. So, like, subscribe, and enjoy the ride. Yeah, boys. Yep. So, Dalton, tell us a little bit about your background in racing.
Well, when I was younger, my dad always had an interest in flat track racing. So we lived down in Silver Springs at the time, and we would go to Hagerstown. It was like every other Saturday they did flat track. And we ended up moving up here to Central PA, and I think it was like 99 or something like that. And we were close to trailways. So on Friday nights, we could always hear it. Never knew what it was. And then I saw a thing in the paper for Lincoln Speedway, and it had a picture of Fred Raymer in the 88H and Greg Hodnett in the Apple car. And probably 4 or 5 weeks, I begged my dad, let's go here, let's see what this is about. And we went one night, and we've been hooked ever since. So here we are 15, 20 years later. Now been on the road doing it. Started with Mike Eardley back in like 2009, 2010, just scraping mud, but I never thought it would get to the point of being a paid position out on the road with the Outlaws or the All-Stars, or even here locally in PA. I helped him for a couple of years, and then before Shark Racing went on the Outlaw deal, we did that with them, and unfortunately I wasn't able to do the deal when they went on the road just because the money wasn't there, and I sadly had bills I had to pay. But so then I ended up getting hooked up with Brett Mahalski, and that's how I met you guys, and boy, that was some fun.
Yeah, it was a good time for sure.
So after that, I had seen that Mason Daniel was going out on the Outlaw deal, and I just messaged him one day and never thought anything of it. And a week or so later, I'm in the shower and I get a phone call from Daniel Lasowski. So I was kind of like, oh man, like somebody like this is actually calling me. And ended up going out on the road and took the chance. And sadly, COVID kind of screwed that deal up a little bit, but we still had a lot of fun, and I learned a lot from it. And then after that year, ended up coming home and went back with Mahalski and worked with Kyle Moody for a little bit until last year I got the opportunity to go wrench for Skylar Gee on the All-Star deal for Mark Holdren. And we did that all last year, and actually started the year with him this year, but just unforeseen circumstances, him and I parted ways. And now here I am with Tyler Reeser racing at Port Royal every week, and still have the opportunity to spin the wrenches, but not to the extent of being on the road every week. I get to go home every night and do what I do as a normal life. So it's taken a little getting used to, that's for sure.
And going back to having a real job.
Yeah, it's not fun.
A normal job.
No, it's not fun at all.
Was it almost surreal when you had the opportunity to go on the road? It's something you always thought about doing.
It's something I thought about doing, but I never thought I would have the opportunity to do it, especially not with somebody like Danny Lasowski or just the other people that I was involved with through him out on the road. It was just like the big picture was, holy cow, I'm actually getting to work with a Hall of Famer and a Knoxville Nationals champion and everything else. And to some people, he's their hero and stuff. And at that point, he was just an everyday guy. So it took a while to get used to, like you're at the hotel or doing this or doing that, and all these people are coming up to them, and you're sitting there just trying to have a conversation with them. So it definitely makes you realize how lucky you are to do some things.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we got some more questions here, so we're just going to go right down the list. And second question I got for you is, you've worked on both the local and traveling positions. What are some differences?
I think the traveling difference is it's all you do. You live, eat, drink, sleep, breathe sprint car racing. And when you do it locally, yeah, you race, your Friday at the Grove and Saturday at Lincoln or Port Royal, but then Sunday you go home, and then through the week you're at home, you work your regular job, you do this, you do that. You're not in race mode the entire time. But when you do it for a job, it's how you make a living, and it's, if you're not good at it or you guys don't succeed, you can be out the door and the next person can be in. It happens that quick. So it's definitely a lot more pressure, and
Yeah.
it's a lot more responsibility doing it for a job.
Yeah, pressure's a big thing. Tell us the best and the worst parts of being on a travel team.
I think the best part is you just race. It doesn't stop. The worst part is you're away from home. So birthdays, or you see your buddies doing this or doing that, and you're not there to be able to do it. When you work on the road, you can't just be like, oh, I'm going to take this weekend off and go home and work with your buddies. It doesn't work like that. Your vacation from sprint car racing is either when it rains or from Thanksgiving to New Year's. Other than that, it's sprint cars the entire time.
All racing all the time.
Yep.
Did you ever get homesick being out there?
So when you're running bad and you're not having fun or things aren't going right, then yeah, you get homesick.
You wish you were back at home in your own bed.
Oh yeah.
I can see that. That's got to be a drag sometimes. Okay, how and where do you work on the car when you're traveling from show to show, like in between races? How's that go when you're not at the shop?
It all depends. If you got like the Outlaws, some nights you might have to travel 4 or 5 hours overnight to get to the next place, and some nights you race at the same racetrack, so you might just leave the rig there at the track. You always know people wherever you're going, just because the people you're with, they always have connections everywhere.
Right.
So sometimes you'll be doing maintenance at the track, or sometimes you're in a Walmart parking lot or a hotel parking lot, and a bunch of people come rolling up, and you just got to stay focused and make sure you do your job right, or else mistakes happen.
Yeah, I often wondered how often, like a back-to-back show, that they leave the rigs there. If it's always unload, leave the track and come back. But I know at the Grove they always leave and come back, but I guess it depends on the logistics of the hotels and stuff.
Yeah, and some tracks they allow you to come in there during the day. Yeah, that's a long day when you're at the racetrack from 9 in the morning until midnight.
Yeah.
But some racetracks, they don't open the gates till 2 o'clock, and that's just how it is. You got to go somewhere to do your maintenance. And like you said with the hotels, if the hotels are close, yeah, then a lot of times you can just leave the rig there. But if you got to drive 15, 20 minutes, you're 9 times out of 10 going to the hotel with the rig.
So what do you do when you're on the road and not racing or working on the car? Like
sleep.
Downtime.
Try and sleep.
Yeah.
Or you just try to find stuff to stay busy. If you're somewhere, if you have a way to get out and go see something, you go try to do that, or go do this or go do that. It all depends on where you're at and what you guys are doing. And sometimes you might race 3 or 4 times and you only have 2 days to get everything ready. So those times that you're not working on it, you're just trying to rest up to go back at it again.
Right. Yeah, because you're never getting caught back up, doesn't seem like, when you're in the thick of things. So where do you, like when you went to work for, let's say, Mason Daniels, Osowski, where did you stay? And if there is a cost, who pays for it? As a crew member coming in, is it part of the deal, or how does that work?
Well, like with Mason, we were fortunate enough to where when we were at the shop, we had a team house. So we all had our own bedroom. We could kind of get away from each other and have some privacy. But when you're out on the road, you're in a hotel, or if you have a toter or whatnot, you're in that. But the teams normally pay for your hotels unless, certain situation where you want a room by yourself or you want this or you want that, then it's on you to get your own room.
So is all that, do you plan all that ahead of time? Like, let's just say you're going, if you're out of the area and you're coming to Pennsylvania, you already have your rooms booked weeks in advance? Or?
Yeah, you have to. It's a lot of times you'll sit down, let's say the end of a week, and you're already planning 2 weeks ahead. And a lot of times, like the crew chief and the car chief or whoever, just the crew chief, they'll sit down because it's kind of hard to get a semi in hotels. So you're figuring out where you can stay,
Right.
where you can get into, what car washes you can go to. It all depends on the access for a truck.
And is that, if you're a platinum member or whatever the membership the Outlaw Stars are, is that kind of like a group thing? Like they all have like their suggested places to stay. You kind of know that ahead of time.
They don't give you a list or anything, but
Okay.
a lot of the guys, they've been doing it so long,
You just know.
they know where you can stay, where not to stay, and stuff like that. And some, like, there's normally 2 or 3 hotels in an area that everybody will get broken up into. But like Florida, for an example, you're there, there's 9 teams at one hotel just because the parking lot is really one of the only ones in the area that you can get into. But it's kind of nice being with other teams sometimes because then you can socialize and you're not
Right.
stuck with the same people. But then again, you kind of got to watch what you're doing too, because there's always somebody, if you're fast, there's somebody trying to figure out what you're doing.
Somebody's watching.
Yep.
We kind of just touched on this a little bit, but what are your expenses on the road? Like, what out-of-pocket expenses?
Normal living. You still got to take a shower and brush your teeth and have underwear and socks and stuff like that. A lot of times your food, you got to take care of yourself. During race days and whatnot, a lot of times the drivers will buy you lunch when you're doing maintenance and everything like that, just because they don't come down normally till then, and you guys are busting your butt all day, so they'll normally take care of it. But for the most part, you're on your own when it comes to food and your normal living things that you need,
It's just like a regular job.
pretty much.
You're getting paid and you're just paying for everything else.
Yep.
Interesting. Well, that can get expensive too, can it?
Yeah.
Out on the road.
Yep. Eating out every day.
So you just kind of touched on this a little bit, but I'll ask you anyway. Do the drivers work on the car in the shop or at the track? And how much input do they give about maintenance or the setup? Like what's the actual driver's role? And I'm sure it might be different from team to team, but what do you?
It's like you just said, it's different from team to team. When you're on the outlaw stage, they stay in their hotel room until 1, 2 o'clock. They don't come out and they don't have a say in anything. Locally, your drivers sometimes are your owners, so yeah, they have a say in how you do things. But last year with Skyler, it was just Skyler, myself, and we had John, so he kind of had to help some. Yeah, he wouldn't do as much, but there was just no way possible that 2 people can do all the work that needs to be done from
Right.
race to race, especially bang bang night after night.
So to touch on that for a second, typically, like how many crew members are on a team, not including the driver? Like the last year you needed, there were 3 guys with the driver. But typically, how many crew members are on a team, like on the Outlaw Tour?
3 guys. You'll have a crew chief, and then you'll have your car chief, and then you'll have your tire guy. So, and then other than that, it's just you through and the driver. So,
Right.
but the outlaw deal too, the driver just does their own thing. So halftime, you don't even see them during the week. You see them on Friday night when you get to the racetrack.
Right.
That's it.
They got their own
Yep.
bus or camper or RV, whatever.
Or they're driving a pickup truck with a t-shirt trailer, just kind of doing their own thing.
Gotcha. So if I'm looking to get into working on a racing crew in a paid position, what is my career path and where do I start?
Start locally. Find somebody in the pits that's willing to teach you and let you work with them and learn and just soak up all the knowledge you can. On the road, everybody always starts as a tire guy. So the best thing you could know is how to do tires and how to keep things clean. And it's just keep learning. That's the biggest thing, is just learn as much as you can before you take that step or attempt to take that step.
So if you get your foot in the door with, tires are kind of grunt work. I mean, we race, we kind of know how that is. It's dirty. It's a dirty job, and your tires are heavy, and cutting and grinding and all that stuff. So if you want to get your foot in the door, probably the easiest thing to learn is tires.
Yeah.
But it's important too.
They're the 4 points of contact on the racetrack. So if they're not right, there's a lot of things that tires can factor into, whether you believe it or not or think it, and being clean. So the biggest thing about being out there is being organized and clean, because you basically live out of those trailers.
Right.
So you can't have a pigsty and this and that and expect to be successful when you don't even know where things are.
And you got an image to uphold too.
Yep.
You got to look good.
Yeah, your sponsors and everything.
Yeah.
People are watching you all the time.
That's a good point. All right, moving right along here. How do I know if I'm qualified? And what are some basic expectations of someone starting out entry level? Kind of just touched on that a little bit. And do they expect you to have any kind of tools? And go ahead.
I don't think you're ever know if you're qualified, because there's so many things that factor into it. It's not just the work of it itself. It's being away from home. It's, can you get along with these guys? You're with them 24 hours a day,
That's true.
7 days a week. So there's a lot more to it than, you can't be a shy person and go work on a race car team. It doesn't work. You got to be able to take some crap and be able to dish it right back, because it's just how it is out there.
So you're in a sense, it's like having a girlfriend. Living with a girlfriend, all of a sudden you're living with a bunch of guys on the road.
Yeah, like when I went to Mason's, I didn't know any of them guys. I'm from Pennsylvania. Garrett is from California. Mason was from California, and Lasowski was from Missouri. None of us would have ever crossed paths if it wasn't for racing. So you kind of just walk in the door. Hey, I'm Dalton, and you just go at it, go from there. And you can't be shy. You have to be pretty outgoing to make it work, or else it doesn't.
So touching on that a little bit, I'm just curious, how did you learn about that job? Like, how did you apply for that job, or how does that work?
I saw the Outlaws do the thing at Charlotte for one of their press releases, and they said Mason Daniel going out with Danny Lasowski. And I was like, look, there he is on Facebook. And I just sent him a message. And I was like, hey, I'm interested in a crew position. If anything's available, here's my number. Thanks for taking your time. And like I said, next thing I knew, I get a phone call from Lasowski.
So it's as simple as just being Facebook friends and getting your foot in the door with a message.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays you'll see on Twitter or Facebook that teams, when they're looking, they'll post something and, have you send an email or give them a call or that, or, this or that. And it's nice to have people too that those guys can call, like, hey, yeah, he's worked with me.
Right.
He's done this and he's done that. Because you can't just be like, oh, I want to go work on race cars. It just doesn't work. It's just getting thrown to the wolves.
Right.
And too many mistakes. They don't have time to teach something of that magnitude that fast when you race that many times a year.
It kind of takes us right into the next question, which was, how much knowledge is required, and then, will they train you, and then certifications. Do you need a CDL? Do you need what should you? I mean, obviously, like you just said, they're not going to have time to necessarily take you under the wing and train you on the fly. But what do you need to know? Like, what do they?
It goes back to just what position you're going to do. If you're going to be a tire guy, you need to know how to mount and balance tires and groove them and
Read a tape measure.
Yeah, read a tape measure and keep things clean. If you're going to be a car chief, you essentially need to know how to build a race car, from just everything laying there to being a race ready car. And a crew chief, it's
all of that.
Yeah, it's everything put together. It's nice to have a CDL when you got on the road, because obviously now with driving the tractor trailers and everything, you have to have them because they're all e-logged, and You have to document everything. And you're basically a big giant rolling billboard.
Right.
And those teams are businesses. It's not a hobby team like some guys are locally. I mean, that's a business that they run, and that's how they make a living. So I mean, yeah, like don't get me wrong. There's always time for teaching, and somebody will always teach you this or teach you that. But just watching too, a lot of times, is the biggest teacher you can have, because if you watch the way a guy does things and you ask questions, you can learn that way.
So it kind of goes back to where we started. Just go to your local racetrack. I can speak a little bit from experience of just walking through the pit area, watching. I mean, people walk through the pit area and just stand back and watch people measure tires, and you can learn a lot from watching and lead to the next thing, which gets you to where we're at today.
Better make sure that half inch is right though.
Yeah, you got to be able to read the tape measure exactly right. There's a little backstory to that. Maybe we'll touch on that. Oh boy, that was a good night. Kind of.
Yeah.
So how do you compare the World of Outlaws and North Star Circuit of Champions? Like, if you had to sit them next to each other, what's the differences, and from the crew aspect of it?
I'd say the only difference between the All-Stars and the Outlaws is the Outlaws, you travel the whole country, and the All-Stars, you don't. The All-Stars are pretty much Ohio, Indiana, Pennsylvania. The Outlaws go PA to California. Some people say the racing is different, and I don't agree with that at all. The All-Stars, honestly, I think sometimes those guys are hungrier because it doesn't pay as much, and a driver makes a living off of where he finishes, because 9 times out of 10 they get a percentage of what the car makes. Your average outlaw race pays $10,000 a night. Most of your all-star shows pay 5 or 6.
Right.
So, you'll have smaller teams that run the all-star deal. All your outlaw teams are big corporate teams or have corporate sponsors or whatnot. And granted, yeah, you do have your small guys that don't have a lot of money that are trying to do it, but it's I think the outlaws are they're a bigger name than what the all-stars are, but the competition is no different. It's the same. Those guys are there to win.
So would you say, if you had to lean one way or the other, is there one way you lean, or from your own perspective?
I would say the all-stars, just because of the sheer factor home more, but
Right.
you can also race more. In the outlaws, you have let's set 90 race schedule. That's all you can run. You have to get permission from the outlaws to go and race. Like, say, hey, we have a rain out, but Knoxville's racing, we're 8 hours away. You have to get permission from the outlaws to go and race that, and it has to be an outlaw sanctioned racetrack. With the all-stars, they're all for the Kings Royal and the National Open and Pennsylvania Speed Week, all your big marquee events. The all-star guys can still go and run that.
So they have more flexibility to get out and do more.
Yeah, I mean, look at Justin Peck. Last year he ran 112 races.
Oh, I didn't know
Running
that.
with the all-stars.
That's a lot of racing.
Yeah.
That's a lot of racing. What are the typical positions, titles on a sprint car team crew? We just kind of already touched on that. You get your crew chief and car chief and
Yeah.
tire guy, and
Pretty much.
of course one of them guys has got to be a truck driver, right?
Normally it's all of you.
Is it?
If you all have a CDL, you're all a truck driver, because with the E-logs, you can only drive 12 hours.
Hmm.
So, and the thing is too, is those 12 hours, you can't drive to the racetrack and it shows, oh, okay, hey, you drove for 45 minutes, but then you logged out. What'd you do the rest of the day? So you kind of have to make sure you're smart, because DOT can still get you. So it's nice if all 3 guys can drive, but definitely need 2 at
Right.
minimum to be able to drive.
So here's a funny question: what happens if you're on the crew and you screw up, make a mistake? Do you get yelled at? Is the crew chief mad? Like, does that ever happen to you?
Yeah, it's happened to me. It all depends, to be honest. Everybody makes mistakes. It happens, and you're a human. But it's how you go about that mistake, whether you try to fix it, make sure it doesn't happen again, or how severe the mistake is. You leave a wheel loose, there's no excuses for that. Or some things, we get, oh yeah, you forgot to put a Zeus button back in, or this wasn't right. But when it comes to wheels and everything that bolts on the race car, it has to be right because there's somebody in that car. You know, if you go down at Knoxville or the Grove and you lose a wheel, a lot of bad things can happen really fast. So it all depends. Sometimes you get your ass chewed out, and sometimes it's, yeah, you screwed up. It happens, all the way up to pack your shit and get out. So it all depends.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to be on the bad side of any of that.
No.
Could be leading a race, or it could be a complete race car gone.
Yeah.
Something stupid happens.
Yeah.
What would you say is your best, up to date, your best memory of being on the road? What's your highlight or, so far?
This video is PG, right?
Yeah.
And we won't go there.
Oh, that's another video.
I don't think I could really put it into one. I've had so many great memories racing, and a lot of bad ones too. I think the first win with Mahalski was probably the best one.
That was pretty cool
because I don't think anybody expected us to win, and we were just a bunch of clowns there having fun, and we got it done. But
he drove his ass off that.
Yeah,
he really wanted to win.
Yeah, he did.
It was good.
I think he knew we were all gonna rip him apart if he didn't. But yeah, there's just so many good memories. Even when COVID happened, I got to spend a month and a half in California. I'd never had that opportunity to do something like that if it wasn't for what I was doing. So yeah, it sucked that we weren't racing, but it was also pretty cool that I got to experience something like that as well. So
that's good. Well, there's 12 questions with Dalton on all kinds of racing, crew member, car chief, tire guy information. So it's good.
Yeah, thanks for having me
Yeah,
on.
you got
Is there
it.
anything you want to add?
I think I'm good.
Well, I'm going to add something. Look, I know how to add this anyway, but so let's go back to reading the tape measure one time. This was a highlight this is something we still talk about to this day. Heather, myself, Dalton, Joe Taylor was there. I don't know, Brett Mahalski, of course,
The boot guy.
the late great Joe Mahalski.
Boot guy.
We had a great time with Joe, but we were at Lincoln for a Speed Week race. I wasn't racing at the time. I was hanging out with these guys, and there was a discrepancy over tire size or stagger measurement.
When we changed the right rear.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was a half-inch smaller when we changed it. And that was the issue.
So there was a stagger change, and Joe was very unhappy with the stagger measurement. Am I saying that right?
I think he didn't know what the whole picture was. All he got was, hey, this is a half-inch off.
Yeah. So somebody said the stagger was different, and he wanted the exact down to the 30-second measurement because at one point in time it was important in pavement racing or micro racing, and it was quite an entertaining.
I think we broke a pair of glasses that day.
I think so.
He flipped out.
He flipped out on Dalton, I believe.
And every other crew was watching.
And
it's pretty good when Davey Brown's right next to you and you're getting your ass chewed
yeah, I was going to say the Kreitz car was next to us and David Brown was just staring. The whole team was staring at us.
Yeah.
But it all worked out. But it was something we still talk about to this day when we measure stagger. We got to know exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It was funny because Dalton got blamed for everything.
Dalton did get blamed for everything on
Didn't matter what it was.
73B.
I will take credit for leaving the chair up top, though.
Yeah, well, that was another story. We were leaving the races one night, and Heather's chair was on top of the trailer, and anyway, it blew off the trailer going down the road and hit Lauren's car.
And I got a call from Dalton.
Was,
and he's whispering, and he says, "Hey, remember that chair? I just got yelled at."
Oops.
I said, "Well, I'll take the blame." "No, I'm good. I'll take it."
He's so used to taking the blame, it didn't matter.
Yep. I was driving.
Oh, it's a good time.
Yeah.
But we had a lot of fun, for sure. More fun to come.
We still do.
Yes, sir. So that'll be a wrap on the video. Hopefully everybody enjoys it. Like, subscribe at BillyDietrich.com. Ring the bell for notifications.
If you have any other questions for Dalton, leave them in the comments.
Yeah, any questions at all, any comments, just comment below. We'll be certain to get back to you. And I can always ask Dalton what he thinks. You got any questions, comments? And
Yeah, or I can, kind of try and stay updated with it and answer whatever questions I see.
Absolutely.
if you're at the track, don't hesitate to stop. Dalton will be at Pool Roll. We'll be at Lincoln. You got any questions about anything we talked about? Look us up for sure. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.